This episode is brought to you by Peak, the blockchain for real-world applications and home of DePIN. If you think it's time for Web3 to get real, check out their website at peak.network. That's peaq.network. Hello everyone, Daniel from DePIN Hub over here, and today I have the honor to have Hugo Chuko, CEO and co-founder of WiCrypt. WiCrypt is building a decentralized internet access network that enables users to share the internet connection and earn tokens in the process. Thanks so much for being in the podcast today. Can you introduce yourself and talk about a bit your background?
Thanks a lot, Daniel. My name is Hugo Chuko Arono. I'm the co-founder and CEO of WiCrypt. And a little bit about myself. So I got into crypto in 2016 as an engineer. I've been building since then. That's like about 8 years now in crypto space. But professionally, I've been building software for close to 10 years now, right? About a decade professionally. Yeah, so got into crypto in 2016. Started out by building out, smart contracts, learning how the blockchain works. Built my own blockchain, then because I was just really interested, but never really launched it. But it's on my GitHub, though. So that's been it. I studied electronics engineering in the University of Nigeria, and so I have experience with, low-level code writing, hardware. Right, high-level software engineering and all that. So that's basically it. I'm based in Nigeria full-time. Travel to other parts of the world, when business calls, right? But yeah, I love it here, and all my friends, engineers and all that, building stuff together, we're all doing it, right here in Nigeria. Yeah, in a very, small city sort of called Enugu State, yeah. So, that's it about myself.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I think it's so interesting how many of the people actually building DePIN projects are electrical engineers, electronic engineers. It's myself. I remember the CEO of Huddle 01, the CEO of GeoNet, everybody's electrical engineers and others. I think gives you a lot of the understanding, the full stack, right? Because if you're building just a crypto project, just being a software engineer, usually it's okay. But then if you want to do a DePIN project, it has way more layers of complexity. So I think it's super interesting. That's why you have so many electrical engineers jump into the challenge, right? What was the inspiration behind actually starting WiCrypt?
It was back in 2017. That was approximately 7 years ago, right? So we were actually in my office. Myself and some other software engineers, right? So we were writing software, and then for some reason my internet connection just disappeared from my phone. Right. So then, because the city where we are, we really don't have like very huge Wi-Fi services, right, that offices use. So then you just use your mobile internet hotspot, your hotspot from your mobile phone, and then hotspot it to your computer, and then you're doing your work. So that's how we were basically working then. And mine just disconnected. And after I disconnected, I asked my colleagues to give me access to their hotspots, and they said no. And why they said no was because they couldn't quantify the amount of data I was going to consume, because they were also connected to their own hotspots, right? So, and we are all heavy consumers, right? So it was really hard for them to, say yes. And I said, okay, that was when it struck me. And I was like, okay, how is it going to be possible for me to build a sort of software or tool that would allow me to connect to anybody's hotspot anywhere in the world at any time, and then pay the person in real time without even the person knowing that I connected, right? The software or the protocol handles the authentication, billing, and everything. And that was how the idea for WiCrypt came up, right? And when I said that, all the engineers in my office, because I think we were about 11 then, so they were like, hey, probably someone must have built that stuff. Because, like in the internet, it's like nothing is new, right? So they were like, probably someone must have built that, someone must have built that stuff. And I said, okay, fine, I will check. So I checked online. I didn't really see anything. And I was like, well, I don't think anyone has done this, right? So I said, okay, I was going to do this as a side project. But, I procrastinated, to be very honest. More than like 4 or 5 months, I didn't even touch it, right? And then afterwards, one of my friends in the UK reached out and said, hey, that they have something in their university. And they were asking them for ideas. That do I have any nice idea that for him to present in school? I said, okay, yeah, I do. I just brought out the thing where I wrote it on a piece of paper. I shared it with him. Like the next week, he reaches out to me and he's like, look, that their dean was like this, the idea won the best idea in his class, and that the dean was like, where did he get this idea from, and that if whoever gave him this idea hasn't built it, the person should rush and build it. Why? Because it's going to be easy for people to copy this idea, right? Because they've not seen it before. So that was like the urge, that was the push I needed, right, to now start working on it as a side project. So it was basically a side project. Myself and two of my other colleagues decided to work on it as a side project. And that's how we were able to like build it up to what it is now. So, I mean, we faced a lot of challenges as well, you know. I mean, as we were creating it, it was at some point Google and iOS, because it was a mobile app. So Google and Apple guys, they yanked us off, right? Because they said we were accessing lower parts of the operating system. They were accessing some functions that we didn't need. So at some point, it was really tough. They yanked us off after about 9 months of launching the mobile app. So we had to now rebuild the entire tech stack from ground up. That's building our own hardware, the operating system, you know. But it was a very, very tough call. At some point, I felt, well, maybe it was the world telling us, look, just shut down this company and do something else, right? But for me, I'm someone who doesn't give up, right? I hardly take no for an answer. So I started working on the operating system, the hardware design and everything, myself, my colleagues, and eventually we had a fully functioning tech stack that we had full control of, and no one could now take it away from us, right? So yeah, that's how we were able to build and get to where we are.
It's really, really interesting. You know, as well, working with Apple, it's particularly really challenging, right? We had the same problem actually with Hotspotty, because we released the Hotspotty Connect app, and we had a login function for our website. And then Apple, of course, everything that touches anything that generates any kind of revenue also, they want to take their 30%. So it's always a pain in the ass to work with Apple. And then you guys did amazing, like taking the challenge to actually build everything from scratch and build from the ground up is very interesting. But at first glance, you can misinterpret WiCrypt as being like a smaller African competitor to Helium. But after you actually really understand the project, do like deeper analysis, you understand that WiCrypt technology is actually quite different. Can you tell a little bit, going to this network architecture that you guys decided and how it differs from like just a regular Helium hotspot?
If you remember clearly, Helium hotspots purely focus on IoTs, right? Range, low data transmission. That's basically what it focuses on, right? So long range, low data transmission means probably things like the dog collar, maybe a smart fridge or some smart devices sending data over a long range to some other device, right? Creating that peer-to-peer network. But it doesn't really give you the power to probably watch Netflix or connect like the way we're connecting now, you know, streaming large amounts of data in gigabytes or in terabytes and all that. So that's where WiCrypt comes in. WiCrypt has created a system that allows large data transmission and also low data transmission for both IoTs and your regular internet devices, right? While Helium supports the IoTs, but then what the next thing they actually created was, you know, like having like supporting like mobile, like SIM cards, right? You know, with like T-Mobile and all that. So, but for us, we've decided to innovate completely around Wi-Fi services, providing much more value. Another example is our ad service. So our ad service is actually the first of its kind in the world, where every single internet router can now become a digital billboard. What it means is that any internet router anywhere that supports the WiCrypt operating system. So you really don't have to buy, let's say, a WiCrypt hardware initially, right? But then there are hardwares that support the WiCrypt operating system. Once it supports the WiCrypt operating system, your device can become a digital billboard, and you can earn revenue just like Twitter or X shares revenue with the influencers. You can actually earn revenue when you do that. Also, WiCrypt has a special package for SMEs or businesses, right? Let's say your coffee shop, your barber shop, even your home, right? You can customize the landing page of your WiCrypt hotspot hub, and that landing page can collect any type of data you want from your customers. You can collect customer reviews. Imagine Google Forms, but now on your Wi-Fi interface. You can customize it, collect any information, and create meaningful value from your Wi-Fi for your business or for your home. You can also do things like parental control for homes or for families, right? You can manage the times the internet will stay on and off, right? For children and all that. So everything is built into the Wi-Fi network. So you don't really have to start configuring it directly on the TVs or the mobile devices that your kids use. So these are like different value propositions that completely separate us from Helium, right? I mean, they have their market and what they're focusing on. We have what we're focusing on, and it's actually a niche environment, or a niche market. Yeah.
No, I love actually what you just said, especially focusing on the ad network. If I have a coffee shop, for example, I want to offer Wi-Fi to my customers, but I don't necessarily want to charge them in crypto or in fiat or anything for them to actually use the internet, because no other coffee shop has that, right? No other coffee shop actually charges the users to use the internet. But if you can have like an ad network that they can see some ad when they connect, that generates some ad revenue for myself as a coffee shop owner, and also can provide some interesting opportunities for the users to see some ads that could be interesting to them, right?
Exactly, that's perfect. You actually just nailed it. Yeah, exactly, you nailed it. That's perfect. It generates revenue for you, passive income for you, right? And your users also, of course, they can see ads that might be relevant, to them. Also, as a small business, you can, before the users even connect to the Wi-Fi, you can maybe say, hey, I'd like to know your name, maybe your phone number or something. So, or maybe I'd like you to rate our services, right? Let's say the last services we had, you can actually give a 5-star rating. We have a rating system built in, so you can get feedback from your customers about your small business from your Wi-Fi at no extra cost. Yeah.
This is like basically a no-brainer for any business owner that wants to give Wi-Fi to their customers to use that instead of just a regular Wi-Fi hotspot or a Wi-Fi like access point. Because I remember, of course, before, now Helium is working with the cell phone plan, etc. But back in the time, before they have announced the Helium the way it is right now, they were talking about the Wi-Fi that people need to pay actually with AT&T tokens to use the network. But no business owner actually wants to charge their customers extra. It's not something that's very common right now. So I believe the ad network that you guys are building is fantastic. And also, I believe that you guys are building a lot of the backend, the website that you can manage. How does that work? You can configure, like you said, a lot of the settings.
Oh, yeah. So for the users, right, you can even decide when you want to show ads or not on your WiCrypt dashboard. As a user, as the owner of the hotspot, you can just go. It's very easy. You just log into the dashboard. You see a toggle button. You can toggle to enable ad on each of the devices. So let's say you have 10 devices. You can manage as many devices as possible from your single dashboard. So let's say you have 10 devices. You can decide to toggle ads on 5 and not toggle ads on 5. You can manage it. It's very dynamic. Also, as WiCrypt network, what we now do is when businesses want to run ads on the WiCrypt network, they reach out to WiCrypt, and then WiCrypt will set up their ads on the WiCrypt network, and the businesses can let us know what countries they want to support. For example, WiCrypt, we're still growing, but we're in over 33 countries as I speak to you. We're in over 104 cities, right? We're in all the major continents of the world, and I mean all the major countries, really, right? So we can activate these ads in all these different countries, and then based on your location, the ads will show, and for those customers in that location, and revenue will be split based on the views or interactions of the ads. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, real world usage, and I think that's what we like about DePIN, like comparing to other like crypto ecosystem. PIC is a layer 1 blockchain designed to power DePINs. Why do DePINs choose to build on PIC? It's fast, scalable, low cost offer builders are ready to deploy DePIN SDK, and is multi-chain. So when you build on PIC, you're building for all Web3. PIC is home for the fastest growing DePIN projects, with more than 100,000 vehicles and devices deployed, over a dozen DePINs already building, and the world leading device manufacturers such as Boss partner with them. Think of building a DePIN? PIC has a grand program for DePIN builders. If you're listening to this, remember, you're early. The PIC network will launch in the first half of 2024. Check out PIC's channels for more details and links in the podcast description. To our listeners that are not familiar with the telecom landscape in sub-Saharan Africa, can you give a little bit of an overview about it? Because I'm in Portugal, we have a lot of our listeners actually in the US. I think there's a lot of things in the telco landscape that's completely different than we're normally used to.
In the telco landscape, actually in sub-Saharan Africa, I'll give you an example. We have major telecommunications companies like MTN, Safaricom, Airtel, Nine Mobile, right? And to be honest, these telcos have actually done a whole lot in the last, let's say, 23 years, right? Telcos here support like, the 3G, 4G, 5G. We have 5G here. One of the biggest challenges, of course, is that in terms of remote areas, densely, sparsely populated areas, you don't see a lot of telco, infrastructure in those areas, right? And that's where WiCrypt actually also helps and allows, telcos to scale, or allows people to scale existing networks to areas where people are not largely populated. But yeah, the telcos have actually helped to build a lot of infrastructure and helped a lot of Africans really to be able to understand the tech, because these are like the giants, right, that most people stand on top of their shoulders, right? Without them, you will not have connectivity. But now we now have the likes of satellite internet like Starlink, and Starlink works perfectly with your WiCrypt device as well. So you can just plug your Starlink device to your WiCrypt device and you handle massive distribution. Every single thing works out of the box. So, but yeah, these are actually these are like the activities of the telcos in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, man, I think it's amazing what you guys are building. And you got to remember, we're still early, right? So I'll tell for those people out there listening to the podcast, make sure to guarantee your device, buy the token, and participate of this network, because I think it's going to have a really, really bright potential and super interesting just to listen while you're talking in the future that you guys are building. I heard also that you guys are building some intellectual properties in your country, and what are cool things that you guys are building that's a bit different than we normally see everywhere?
IP is one around tech. So you would see that for WiCrypt, we built our tech from ground up, like I said earlier. And what that means is that we control, like, the operating system that runs on the hardware. We control, of course, the cloud infrastructure, the interactions and all that. And what this has allowed us to do is that, for example, our WiCrypt operating system, we are now licensing it, right, to other companies. As we speak, we have some of the biggest telecommunication companies in Africa that are currently integrating the WiCrypt operating system. I mean, I can't mention names right now, but it's happening, right? So what it means is that, these companies are now leveraging the WiCrypt intellectual property, our IP, to be able to scale their entire tech stack and to provide much better services to their users. This is not just happening in Nigeria, it's also happening in China. As I speak to you, there are about 4 different hardware manufacturers in China that have integrated the WiCrypt operating system. And these hardware manufacturers before now used to just sell regular routers to people. But because they've seen that the WiCrypt operating system supports regular router functions and more, they are now plugging it into their hardware and even selling it to their regular customers. Whether you're a Web 2 customer or you're a Web 3 customer, they are selling it to these customers. And why this is really interesting is that the services that WiCrypt offers isn't just purely plugged into Web3 customers. No, it's not just tailored for Web3 customers. Like the ad system we talked about, both Web2 and Web3 customers can benefit from it and they can earn revenue from it. This is the WiCrypt IP, and this is the way we are sort of distributing it, to different companies through licensing.
Nice. You guys are building like super power WRT, but like in a much, much better software, I can imagine. So how has it been the experience of working with the DePIN model, right? Like getting people rewarded by deploying the network. So that's the focus you guys are doing. How do you see yourself growing into the DePIN ecosystem?
I love the whole idea of DePIN, right? Decentralized physical infrastructure network. What it has enabled us to achieve is to be able to plug into different communities. For example, WiCrypt is currently plugged into Peak, which is a huge ecosystem. We also plugged into IoTex, which is another big DePIN ecosystem. And what this has allowed us to achieve is, decentralizing the community. Also, we recently announced something with Minima, which allows tiny nodes to run on our hardware. So DePIN allows you to, one, provide multiple services, connect to different communities, different blockchains, and decentralize operations of your network, to provide value to so many other people in different places, and to reward them as well as they are using your services. That's like the whole essence. And we realized that the moment we activated our rewarding or incentivization mechanism with our tokens, WNT, it really expanded our network. And it's very, very interesting because, you see companies today, maybe like the Samsung or the Apple and all these guys, they at early stages, it wasn't very easy for them to, of course, gain market share. It would cost a whole lot for you to, gain that market share. But one of the advantages of DePIN is that, look, you could take a certain part of your ecosystem or your company, which is like the tokens, and incentivize people. And because of the miracle of the blockchain, you could just send tokens to any part of the world instantly, in less than a second, it's there. And that way, incentivizing people with a very important part of the project, it creates that high network effect and allows expansion of the system. So that's one of the advantages of DePIN that I really love. And we've actually seen so much benefit by plugging into the DePIN ecosystem and expanding that way. Of course, there are there are downsides in terms of how to ensure you manage your tokenomics, how you ensure you manage distribution, not to have inflation. It's very important. And I'm very happy we actually checked those things very early before even launching by working with very great tokenomics engineers to enable us to design how we handle reward releases at different market times. Is very important. We've actually gotten like so much value from the DePIN ecosystem.
And also one thing that's very important in the DePIN is the community component, right? And I heard that also WiCrypt has a very strong community that really enjoys the project and supporting. What are the key benefits you think WiCrypt provides to local economies and those communities?
So one of the key benefits, I'll use local communities in Nigeria as an example. Now, as I speak with you, WiCrypt has something called the City Wi-Fi. So what the City Wi-Fi is that City Wi-Fi is a WiCrypt technology that allows us to distribute Wi-Fi to like between, let's say, 1 kilometer to about 5 kilometers radius, much larger than the regular router range. And now what that has enabled us to do is that you see on a daily basis, we have like 2 different installations in local communities here in Nigeria, where you have about 500 to 1,000 people connecting to the Wi-Fi every day. And these people are located at hubs of businesses in Nigeria. It's usually these businesses wouldn't have access to cheap internet or cheap Wi-Fi, but now with WiCrypt's distribution technology, the cost of them connecting is almost zero. Let me give you an example. So powering these different communities is we're using, for example, like Starlinks to power them, and the cost of the Starlink probably is about, let's say, $100 a month, and with that you're powering, let's say, about 500 people a day. When you do the math, you realize that these guys usually they will probably have paid a month. Let's say they were paying for their internet subscription for their business locations. They'll probably be paying, let's say, about $30 each person. But now they are almost, when you do the math, you are probably just paying probably less than let's say about 5 cents or less, or let's say about 50 cents if we're going to just going to use a round number. Let's just say about 500 people or something like that. So if we're doing that, you realize that you're having a much cheaper internet connection cost, really, and that's creating real value for the local communities. Also, people who have a lot of people, what they do, they buy data in bulk. So when they buy data in bulk, what they now do is they can use their WiCrypt devices to distribute to people around them, maybe people in their homes, in their hostels and all that. So that way, you've actually created a much cheaper internet connection setup for people around. So that way, it's so much value. Then for businesses, like I already mentioned values earlier, collecting of data from businesses, getting feedback from customers, providing Wi-Fi for your customers. Some people even use this as a business in different locations where they can now charge customers, for example. And those customers would pay a very low fee to connect to the internet because usually cost of internet is high. So these are the values that we provide, for our local community.
That's insane. That's really, really good. And man, that can bootstrap so many new things to come. If you can have access to the internet in a cheap way, a lot of people can have access to a lot of information, a lot of new ideas, new companies, new products, a lot of things can come from that. And you guys can really, really help a lot of places for that to actually happen, right? I was also checking your website. There's a lot of content there. There's a lot of information. I was also checking the Explorer. I mean, there's quite some devices already. And I'm excited to see that growing exponentially in the next months. Can you talk a little bit about the Map Explorer that you have? I saw there's a lot of cool features in there as well.
Our Explorer What it does really is that it shows real-time location performance of all the devices everywhere they are in the world. And what we built with the Explorer is something that has not existed before. So what the Explorer shows you, it shows you performance of the devices, things like bandwidth, the amount of data the device is transmitting in real time, the internet speed, right, the location of the device, and the ISP, the internet service provider. So what this Explorer has done, right, indirectly, is to gauge the performance of all ISPs everywhere in the world. And one thing about the WiCrypt operating system is that it can work with any ISP anywhere in the world. As I speak with you, we have, and what you do is just like a plug and play. Currently, we have about 116 ISPs already plugged into the WiCrypt operating system in different parts of the world. And you can see their performance in real time. And all that is shown on the Explorer. Like I said, this is the first time anyone is doing that. So people can actually even go to the Explorer and get information on the cost or the performance of each ISP. For example, you can go there and get average internet speed of the SpaceX internet service. That's your Starlink. I think about 270 something customers or 270 something devices are in real time connected to Starlinks as we speak. This kind of information never really existed before, but of course it's within the WiCrypt network, but you can use it to sort of extrapolate and check performance of particular internet service providers anywhere in the world. So that way you can have independent information. And of course, this is also the true essence of decentralization, really, where you don't really need to depend on the ISP to give you their report. You can actually go to a service that is decentralized and is owned by different people, and you get real-time performance of these different ISPs. So that's one of them, another value really that the Explorer provides. And also on the Explorer, you can track rewards that people earn, like in WNT, because people also get every week, we do the incentives, right? We distribute the WNT to users. So you can actually go there and see the total amount of WNT that has been distributed. You can actually see a leaderboard and see what people are earning every week from the rewards, right, that we're distributing. So these are different values that the Explorer provides. And over time, we always keep improving, providing real-time information on the WiCrypt network.
I like it. And the more people deploy the network, the more useful this information is going to be, right? I'm excited to see a lot of those devices here in Portugal, so I can track between all the service providers that we have here and to try to decide what's the best one, what's the most reliable one. That's amazing. Where can people know more about WiCrypt? Where can they buy the hardware? Like, as a closing remark, like, what would you like to tell the people from here what they should do? Because I personally probably gonna go and buy my own device right after this call.
So I think the first thing is, they should actually get the device currently from shop.wicrypt.com, or you can get the device directly from Hotspotty. So Hotspotty will provide a link, right? And you should actually get it from there because there are so many benefits getting it from Hotspotty, directly. So that's number one. And it actually takes you to a Shopify link and it makes it really easy. The process is smooth. Also, and you can check out the website. You can also check out any of our communities. And please, I'd like to put it out there. For you to join any community, visit the website first, which is WiCrypt.com. Because of the growth of our project, we are now seeing people creating fake Telegram groups, fake handles. We don't want anyone to fall, victim of any of those fake sites or any of those fake Telegram groups. So it will be great to visit, follow the link that will be added to this podcast. It will guide you. You would not make a mistake following any of those links. But it will be great to buy the devices. We even have special offers really that are coming up for people who even own the devices in different parts of the world. So that should be the next thing. And I think in closing, I'm really excited that we're actually working on this. It's really exciting for me and for the team, because we're able to build something from a small city in Nigeria and see it being used, solving real problems in different parts of the world. And we're still at very early stages, right? And we're very excited about what the future holds. So we're very happy to also have you all come on board
Yeah, let's go, man. This is the way to go. Super excited about this. Make sure to check the WiCrypt website. On the bottom of the website, you have a Telegram, we have Instagram, we have a Discord, Reddit, and everything else. Make sure to check it. Also, I'm going to link on the podcast or where if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, there's going to be a bunch of links where you can get actually the WiCrypt devices and learn more about it. I would like to thank you for joining the podcast. I think it was a really great episode. I'm very excited to have this out as soon as possible and to have you again in the podcast in the future when the network actually reaches the 100,000 plus or a million devices.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Daniel.
Thank you. Have a great day and see you on the other side.
All right. You too.